Very good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. Shall we start, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Warm welcome and very good evening to one and all present for the day 3 of the one-week national level virtual faculty development program on research methodology and statistical tools used in research, organized by PG Department of Commerce in association with IQAC and Research Cell of St. Teresa's Degree College for Women. I, Navyashri, PG Coordinator of the college, take the privilege of hosting today's session. As we are aware that we have an eminent speaker, Dr. D. Kumaresan sir, as a resource person for the program, I wholeheartedly welcome you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Also, I welcome all the dignitaries and participants for the third day virtual FDP. Today, Sir will be emphasizing on data collection and processing, which is one of the crucial tasks in research. So without wasting much time, let me hand over the session to Sir. Sir, I request you to take over the session.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Very good evening to one and all present here. It's indeed a great pleasure for me to be the resource person on this third day of one week FTP program organized by the IQAC and PG Department of Commerce of St. Teresa's Degree College for Women. I welcome one and all. Yesterday and the day before, we have discussed about the introduction to research and how to write a research paper, that is art of writing research paper. Today, the most crucial part of the research, that is data collection and processing. So what is a data? What are the different sources of data? How to collect the data? How to process them? That and all we are going to discuss today. With this, I would like to share my presentation. So day 3, data collection and processing. You know pretty well, the data are available from two different sources. Number one, primary data, and number two, secondary data. Primary data are the data collected by the researcher himself or herself with the purpose of collecting data that is required for carrying out the research. To fulfill the objectives of research, we decide these are the informations we need. In order to fulfill the objectives of our study, what are the data expected? What are the data required? What are the data relevant to our study? So we know pretty well before collection of data. So whether it is collected through questionnaire or interview schedule, it is immaterial. But we know what are the expected data. So obviously, we decide these are the data sought or information sought from our respondents. So it's a first-hand information. We go to the field, conduct the survey, and collect the data from the participants or the respondents. So it is full and full designed for our own study. So that is called primary data. Whereas in the case of secondary data, it's the data collected by any other, maybe a scholar, maybe a researcher, maybe an author, or maybe a published report by the company or by any organization or by government. Any person who has already collected data, whether it is published or not, it is already available. If it is already available and we are using the same, it is said to be secondary data. So the primary data is collected with the purpose, specific purpose of fulfilling the objectives of the present study. So required, relevant, and appropriate data are collected through primary sources. So it is most suitable. All the relevant information are collected. So it suits to the needs of our study. Whereas secondary data, as I told you, it's collected by somebody else. If we are using somebody else's data, we cannot be certain that it will be perfectly suitable to our study. I told you on the first day itself, no. Primary data is a tailor-made data, and secondary data is a ready-made data. If it is tailor-made, it suits to our body perfectly. If it is a ready-made dress or garment, it may or may not be suitable to our body. Sometimes ready-made garment may require some alteration. Likewise, the secondary data may also require certain alterations. If it is not perfectly suitable to our study, then we have to make certain alterations. Alterations do not mean that we are modifying that. No changes are made in the values of the data. That is, we are just grouping or regrouping. We can do that only, eliminating something like that. So it is called primary data. Now, what are the sources of data? As I told you, external data and internal data. In the case of external data, we collect data from outside. We collect data from outside. Other sources, outside sources. It may be primary data or secondary data. Whereas in the case of internal sources, that may also be primary or secondary. Suppose if we are collecting feedback from our employees, it is a primary data. It is collected within our company, within our firm. So our employees are the respondents and we collect data. It is primary, but internal. Similarly, secondary data may also be internal because if you collect data from HR reports, attendance reports, acquittance reports, that is payroll, if data is collected through internal records, it is secondary data. Similarly, in the external, we are mainly concerned with the external data. That too is classified into primary data and secondary data. For the primary data, certain examples are there. Documents. If any document is used to collect the data, certain creative works, interviews, man-made materials, and surveys. They are called primary data. And in the case of secondary data, unpublished theses and dissertations, manuscript, books, and journals. These are classified as sources of data under the secondary data category. Then we come to methods of collection of data. Earlier we discussed about the sources of data. Now the methods of data collection. How to collect the data? In the case of secondary sources, they are collected from documents like government publications, earlier research, census, personal records, claim histories, service records, or any other published reports. As I told you, annual reports of companies or Reserve Bank of India, any government authority, statistical department, like that. So it is called secondary data. So the secondary data may be collected from the documents like these examples. So collection of data is very simple in the case of secondary data, secondary sources, because already it is existing, it is available. Only thing, we have to identify the source of data, that this is required, so we can approach them, we can collect them. In the early days, there was no internet, there was no online reports. We had to visit the company for collection of data, for the collection of annual reports. For every company, we need to visit, or through post. We have to write letters. Even no emails were there in those days, some 15-20 years back. We had no such facilities, no such technology. The research scholars, if you ask scholars some 20 years back, we have to write letters, repeated letters to the companies. There may or may not be response from the companies, because there is no benefit for them. If you are going to analyze the financial statements of your company, they may not be interested. See, you are analyzing our data for the sake of getting your degree. Their perception is like that. You are collecting the data for your own purpose. But what is a use for us? Like that, they were thinking earlier. So they won't be ready to give the data. Or otherwise, we have to find the shareholders, because the shareholders may be receiving annual reports, and that too, the past records may not be available. See, the shareholders, all the shareholders are not expected to keep the annual reports of previous years. Say for 1 or 2 years, they will be keeping, not all, some shareholders. And they may be throwing away or selling for the selling it to the vendor, buyers, waste paper buyers, like that they will be throwing away. So you may not collect the annual reports, but at once it has become mandatory to disclose the annual report in the official website and through online sources we are now able to collect the data, secondary data. We need not go to the company. We need not go to the organization. We need not write letters even, because it is a public document. It is available in the official websites of the companies, of the stock exchanges like BSE, NSE. Their website contain the annual reports. Moreover, some databases are there, like CMIE, Probus, and as I told you, some local databases are there, like Money Control, Yahoo Finance. Like that, we have a lot of databases. From those databases also, we are able to collect data through secondary sources. What about primary sources? Primary sources of data can be collected in three methods, either by observation or through interview or through questionnaire. So observation method, interview method, and questionnaire method. Number one, observation method. Here again it is classified into two, participant and non-participant. What do you mean by participant and what do you mean by non-participant? Suppose, for the past 2 years, we have been suffering from coronavirus, novel coronavirus. What happened? Many people went to the government hospitals and tested whether it is positive or not, positive or negative. We went to hospitals and tested. If tested means we have to go for treatment, isolation, quarantine, or admitted in hospital, like that. So it is said to be participatory or participant. We voluntarily involve ourselves in the observation. So they are observing. They are collecting blood samples from us. So some samples are collected and tested. So we are participating in the observation, in the data collection, we have participated. Whereas in the case of non-participant, there is no linkage between the person who is collecting the data and from whom the data is collected. What is it? Right. See, nowadays, surveillance camera is fixed on main roads, is it not? On highways also, in toll gates, or even in commercial places, even in domestic places, they have fixed the surveillance camera, CCTV camera. Even though it is displayed, a warning is displayed that you are under the surveillance of CCTV camera, we don't mind. We don't take it as a serious message. We are going there, coming there. At every movement is recorded in the CCTV camera. So CCTV camera collects the data. The person who is moving along that side does not know that his movement is recorded. Even though there is a warning message given, we haven't noticed, or we are just crossing. We are not stepping into the shop. We are just crossing the road. We are crossing that shop on the road without knowing that we are recorded. Our movement is recorded. it is recorded. So it is like non-participant. See the difference between participant and non-participant. In the case of observation through participants, the participants involve themselves and provide data. In the case of non-participants, the persons who are subjected to data collection do not know, they are not involved. The data collector himself collects data whether the person who is subjected for data collection knows or not. So that is said to be non-participant. Then second one, interview schedule. Interview. I told you, no, interview may be face-to-face or personal interview or sometimes telephonic interview. We are collecting data through interview. This interview method can also be divided into two: structured interview and unstructured interview. What is structured interview? Structure means predetermined or pre-decided. We conduct the interview either in person or through telephonic conversation. The questions are predetermined. Whatever questions we need answers, for which we need answers, we prepare the set of questions and we pose the questions already determined only. No extra questions are asked to the interviewees, to the respondents. We are not supposed to ask any question other than the predetermined questions. That is said to be structured interview. Whereas in the case of unstructured interview, we are just triggering questions based on the situation. At that moment, what do we think? We ask. So the questions are triggered at the moment. They are not decided in advance. It is said to be unstructured. And one more difference between structured and unstructured interview is, in the case of structured, as I told you, we have prepared a structured interview schedule. We have the predetermined questions. It is arranged in a particular order, and the questions are asked in the same order. All the questions in the same order are asked to every respondent. So the questions asked to every respondent is same. Whereas in the case of unstructured interview, we can ask any question. We can trigger on any question depending upon the situation, mood, emotions, etc. So that is unstructured. So here, all the questions may or may not be repeated, may or may not be the same for every respondent. That is unstructured. Then questionnaire. Questionnaire may also be divided into two types: mailed questionnaire, collective questionnaire. Earlier, only one method was there, collective questionnaire. we distribute the questionnaire to the respondents and allow them certain period. After the period, we go and collect the filled in questionnaire. But nowadays, we are able to mail the questionnaire through email. And also now, as I told you, Google Forms. So social media is used for collection of data. So these are the different methods of data collection. Now, in the questionnaire or interview schedule, we have to keep in mind the variables. What is a variable? It is a characteristic or measurement that can be determined for each member of a population. It is usually denoted by capital letters such as X and Y, capital letters. Variables may be numerical or categorical. We have to decide whether we need numerical data or categorical data. Numerical variables take on values with units such as weights in kilograms, time in hours, amount in rupees, whereas categorical variables place the person or thing into a category like gender, male, female. There is no numerical values for male or female. So it's called categorical variable. Now we come to data. Data are the actual values of the variable. They may be numbers or they may be words. Datum is singular, data is plural. Datum is singular and data is plural. Data may come from a population or from a sample. Lowercase letters like X and Y are generally used to represent data values. Earlier I told you, capital letters X and Y are used to denote variables, whereas small letters X and Y are used to represent data values. Most data can be put into the following categories, that is qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative data are the result of categorizing or describing attributes of a population. Qualitative data are also often called categorical data. I told you, the characteristics, male or female. It's a category, male category, female category. Family status or nature of family, joint family, nuclear family. Marital status, single, married. They are just categorical, that's all. Then what is quantitative data? They are always in numbers. Quantitative data are the result of counting or measuring attributes of a population. So the quantitative data may be either discrete or continuous. What is your age? They are telling 25, 36, 49, like that. It is discrete. You are giving age group up to 20 years, 20 to 40 years, 40 to 60 years, 60 to 80 years, or above 60 years, like that. It is continuous. So quantitative data may be either discrete or continuous. Discrete means, as I told you, the figures, numbers only. 18, 20. How old are you? I'm 18 years old. What is your experience? I have an experience of 10 years, 20 years, like that. So 10 years, 15 years, like that. Similarly, income. What is your monthly income? I'm earning 50,000 rupees a month. It is discrete. Whereas you fix limits, intervals, like up to 20 years, 20 to 40 years, 40 to 60 years, above 60 years. Continuous. Experience, less than 3 years, 3 to 6 years, 6 to 9 years, above 9 years. What is it? continuous, income up to 25,000, 25,000 to 50,000, 50,000 to 75,000, above 75,000. What is it? Continuous. See the difference between qualitative, that is categorical data, and quantitative data. Categorical data is just a name. It is nominal. There is no value, numerical value assigned to that. But here, in the case of quantitative data, there are certain values, there are certain numbers. And this is also further classified into discrete and continuous. All data that are the result of counting are called quantitative discrete data. These data take on only certain numerical values. Data that are not only made up of counting numbers, but they may include fractions, decimals, or irrational numbers. They are also called quantitative continuous data. So continuous data are often the results of lengths, weights, or times. Then we come to measurement levels, levels of measurement. How do we measure the levels? The way a set of data is measured is called level of measurement. Correct statistical procedures depend on a researcher being familiar with the levels of measurement. Not every statistical operation can be used with every set of data. Data can be classified into 4 levels of measurement. Generally, 3 levels are used: nominal, ordinal, and scale. But in fact, there are 4 levels in the same order, lowest to highest: nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval scale, and ratio scale. What is nominal scale? I told you no. Nominal scales are used for labeling variables without any quantitative value. Without any quantitative value. Male, female. Maybe for entering the data in the system or software, we are giving numbers, 1 for male, 2 for female, like that. That assigned number 1 or 2 has no numerical value for the category. It is just a label. It is not value. It is just a label, just to identify that it is male, that this is female, like that. That's all. So nominal scales could simply be called labels. Nominal scale data are not ordered. There is no specific order. You can interchange. I am telling you, number 1 male, number 2 female. You want to have number 1 female, number 2 male. Okay. Nothing is serious. Nothing is different. No problem is there. So there is no order. In the case of nominal scale, it is a categorical data. There is no order. You can interchange. Note that all of these scales are mutually exclusive. No overlap. So one element of a particular group cannot be an element of other group. A male participant cannot be a participant in the female category, is it not? Similarly, age group. What is your age? Sir, my age is 25, sir. So you are coming in the 20 to 40 age group. That's all. You cannot be in 2 different groups. Sir, I am coming under 20 to 40 and 40 to 40. Can you say like that? No. So you can be a member of any one particular group only. That is why we say that it is mutually exclusive. If you are a member of any particular group, you cannot be a member of another group. So none of them have any numerical significance. These examples are given: gender, area of residence, occupation, etc. here a subtype of nominal scale with only two categories. See, gender is a nominal data, I told you. Area of residence is also another nominal data, nominal scale. Occupation is also nominal. In the case of gender, suppose if there are only two categories, male and female. In the case of area of residence, if you categorize just two, urban and rural, that's all. So if there are only two categories, it is called dichotomous. So dichotomous means there are only two subgroups of a particular variable. Dichotomous, there are only two groups. If area of residence is categorized as urban, semi-urban and rural, there are three. So more than two. More than two means that cannot be categorized as dichotomous. Okay, then nominal scale data cannot be used in calculations. It cannot be used. It should not be used. Understand? You cannot calculate mean, median or mode. They are just numbers. How can you say mean of me? I mean, the gender can be calculated. I mean, mean can be calculated for male and female. Not like that. It is just a number. It is just a label. But if certain values are attached, see some other variable, some other quantitative variable is assigned, compared. In that case, we can calculate the average. See, for example, I told you, age. We are collecting the age, either in discrete or in continuous series. We have collected. Age is a quantitative scale in that case. So in that case, you can calculate the average age of the respondents. Is it not? Can you calculate average gender? It's a blender. You cannot calculate. So nominal scales cannot be used for calculations. Then what is ordinal scale? Data that is used to measure. Ordinal scale is similar to the nominal, but there is a big difference. There is a major difference between nominal and ordinal. Here, you should understand that the ordinal is also categorical. Like nominal, ordinal is also categorical. Only thing is order. While telling about the nominal, I told you no. Nominal data has no order. We can interchange one for female, two for male, or one for male, two for female. We arranged it in any order. But in the case of ordinal, it is also nominal. It is also categorical, but it is organized in a specific order. When telling about the age, I told you, it is a scale data because we collected data in a discrete scale. 25, 30, 46, 59, like that. So we were able to calculate average age. But suppose if we have given the age as a continuous scale, say for example, 20 to 40 years, 40 to 60 years, above 60 years, like that. In that case, up to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, above 60 are just categories. Understand? Age is scale. Age group is ordinal. Why we call it as ordinal? It is also categorical. Why it not be called as nominal? Because you cannot change the order. You should not change the order. First, 20 to 40. Second, up to 20. Can we take like that? No. we give it in a specific order, either in ascending order or in descending order. That is different. See, for Likert scale, 5 for strongly agree, 4 for agree, 3 for neutral, 2 for disagree, 1 for strongly disagree, in descending order. Here, up to 21, 20 to 42, 40 to 63, 40 to above 64. It's just number. It's just a label. Is it not? So it's called ordinal. We cannot change. We should not change the order. See, here, suppose if top 5 brands of FMCG companies are collected. So if top 5 FMCGs can be ranked from 1 to 5, we cannot measure the differences between data. What is the difference between 1 and 2? What is the difference between 2 and 3? What is the difference between 3 and 4? We cannot measure. We cannot measure the differences. So it is called ordinal. So ordinal scales are typically measures of non-numeric concepts like satisfaction, happiness, discomfort, etc. These responses are ordered from the most desired response to the least desired. I told you, no, strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree, or highly satisfied, satisfied, moderately satisfied, or neutral, or sometimes dissatisfied, highly dissatisfied, like that. But the differences between two pieces of data cannot be measured. What is the difference between highly satisfied and satisfied? We have just assigned 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's all. We cannot measure the difference between 5 and 4. Like the nominal scale data, ordinal scale data also cannot be used in calculations. This should also not be used for calculations. Then comes interval scale. Interval scale and the next one, ratio scale. They are called scale data. Data that is measured using interval scale is similar to ordinal. Again, in the case of ordinal also, I told you, there is an interval. I told you, up to 20, 22, 40, 42, 60, above 60, like that. Here also, there is an interval, like ordinal, because it has a definite ordering. So there is an order, but there is a difference between data. The differences between interval scale data can be measured through data does not have any starting point. So here there is no real zero. Starting point is not available. There is no starting point for interval scale. For example, temperature scales like Celsius or Fahrenheit. It may be measured by using interval scale, but you cannot say 0 degrees Celsius. It may be positive or negative. Fahrenheit, positive or negative. There is no real zero. There is no 0 degrees Celsius. Less than 0 degree. 4 degree, minus 4 degrees Celsius, minus 3 degrees Celsius, we can say. But there is no real 0 Celsius, 0 degree Celsius, 0 degree Fahrenheit cannot be measured. Is it not? So, interval data can be used in calculations. Here, it can be used, but one type of comparison cannot be done. So here, this can be used for calculations, but comparison cannot be done here. Next one, ratio scale. So here, data is measured using the ratio scale, takes care of the ratio problem, gives you the most information. ratio scale data is like interval scale. Interval scale was like ordinal. Ordinal scale was like nominal. There is a major difference between nominal and ordinal. Then we saw the difference between ordinal and interval. Now there is a difference between interval and ratio, but it has a 0 point. Interval scale has no 0 point, no starting point. But here there is a 0 point. So that is the difference between interval scale and 0 point. Now, again, for example, income or experience. Do you have any experience? No, sir. I am a fresher. That means 0. What is your income? Sir, I am a student. Or I am a housewife. Maybe sometimes. I don't have any income, sir. So 0. It's a ratio scale. So that can be put in order from lowest to highest. The differences between the data have the meaning. That is said to be ratio scale. Now, we come to the data collection. Data collection tools, I told you no, questionnaire or interview schedule. Designing the questionnaire. For designing the questionnaire, we should understand the questions should be divided into different sections. Section 1, primary data. Section 2, section 1, the demographic variables. Section 2, this. Section 3, this. Section 4, this, like that. You can divide the questionnaire into different sections. That may be done according to your objectives. For first objective, this section. For second objective, this section. For third objective, this question, like that. Similarly, order of questions. What is to be asked first? What is to be asked next? Suppose you are asked one question. Are you married? He says no. Then next question. How many children are there for you? Is it meaningful? No. So the order of questions is important. Then type of questions. Open-ended questions are there, close-ended questions are there. So type of question we have to decide whether we have to give open-ended or close-ended questions. Then choices, number of choices, number of options given. 2 options, yes or no, dichotomous, male and female, is it not? Area of residence, we have given 3 choices, rural, urban, and semi-urban. Educational status or educational level, up to school level, UG level, PG level, and others. So 4 choices. Occupation, business, profession, agriculture, housewife, student, 5 choices, like that. Is it not? So how many choices we have? Normally up to 5 choices. That is good. If necessary, you can give 6 choices, but not more than that. Please try to contain with some 5 to 6 choices, not more than that. Then the quality of questionnaire depends upon the unambiguousness. I told you no, ambiguity should not be there. Whoever reads your question should be understanding the question easily. So here what is expected, you know pretty well. Based on that, you have to put the questions. Require, what is required? What is the data type? I told you no, different types of data. Nominal, ordinal, scale. Based on that, you have to decide. Then different sections. I told you no. Question may be divided into different sections according to the objectives. Demographic profile, first section. Data relating to objective 1, second section. Data relating to objective 2, third section. Data relating to objective 3, fourth section, and so on. Like this, we can divide the questionnaire into different sections. Then order of questions, order or sequence of questions. There must be coherence. See, first question, I told you, know, how long are you using? The next question, are you using? Is it meaningful? No. So why are you using? Is it not? So different questions should be in a particular sequence. Then type of questions, I told you, know, open-ended, close-ended, single response, multiple response, and ranking questions. What is open-ended? The respondent is given freedom. It is open to the respondent to give any answer in their opinion and words. In words, they can give the data. So respondents feel comfortable with this type of questions. So here, how, why, and what. Answers not within 1 or 2 words. It is called open-ended. Choices, number of choices. I already told you, know, minimum 2 choices, maximum 5 to 6. So reasons for limiting the choices. Why? Because if you give more number of choices, and suppose if sample size is some 100 or 150, what will happen? You know, the selection of choices, is it not? In that case, what will happen? No, some choices may be having single digit or very limited frequencies will be there. In that case, the calculation may not be meaningful. That's why we limit the choices. Similarly, selection of choices. See, for example, I told you, know, unambiguousness. You know pretty well what is the type of family or nature of family, joint family and nuclear family. Being a researcher, you know, but some people, all the respondents are not supposed to understand what is nuclear family. So better, you can put the first choice as joint family, then second choice as nuclear family. Because if you have given nuclear family first, there may be a chance of skipping the questions or giving you incorrect data. Right? Then data types we have already discussed. Nominal, ordinal, and scale. Scale can again be divided into interval and ratio. Same. Dichotomous, I told you. Now we have certain points to ponder. Age, I told you, no. Age is a discrete data. It is a scale data. But age group is an ordinal data. Age group is an ordinal data. That can be categorical, but it is not nominal because it is given in order. Here, I told you, no, for the ratio data, there is no real zero. For income and experience, I told you, 0. For age, there is no 0. Can you say, I'm 0 years old? If not in years, there may be in months, there may be in days, or even there may be in hours. There is a age. There is no 0. That is why age is not mentioned as ratio. It is just ordinal. Then see the difference between educational level and educational qualification. Sometimes in the questionnaire, I have found educational level instead of educational qualification. Or instead of educational level, they are putting educational qualification. If you put educational qualification, then you have to mention the qualification, the degree, SSLC, higher secondary, UG, PG, like that you have to mention. But why we are insisting you to put it as educational level? In the case of illiterate or uneducated or up to school level, the qualification, 8th standard or 9th standard, how can you mention? So better if it is given as a educational level, You can give it as up to school level. So 4th standard, 8th standard, or even uneducated may select that choice. So we can give it as educational level instead of educational qualification. Similarly, occupation and occupational status. Many of us are putting occupation. Better it should be occupational status. Why? Student is not an occupation. Housewife is not an occupation. If they are to be included, better it should be occupational status. If it is, see, businessman is occupational status, business is occupation. Agriculture is occupation, farmer is occupational status. Profession is occupation, professional is occupational status. Student is occupational status. Housewife is occupational status. Student and housewife are not occupation. So better let it be occupational status. Then order of choices. I told you, no, for marital status, married and single. First choice, married. Second choice, single. It's just for your easy collection of data. Similarly, nature of family, joint family, nuclear family. So that's all about the data collection and data process. See, the data process is made after the collection of data. After the collection of data, we are checking the data and we decide the variables, we decide the hypothesis, we decide what is a independent variable, what is dependent variable, what is the statistical tool to be used. Based on that, we process the data. While processing the data, if we go for some pilot study, we can check the reliability or the validity of the questions. Based on that, we have to modify the questionnaire. That and all data collection part. So data processing, we are entering the data into the system or in the software. Or sometimes we prepare a master table. So table, we are entering the data, we are processing them, we are grouping them, we are regrouping them. That is called data processing. Data analysis is different. That we will discuss in the forthcoming sessions. Okay, so that's all about the data collection and data processing. With this, I would like to thank all the participants and the organizers for the patient listening and the wonderful opportunity given to me. Now it's the time for you to ask any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing the insights about data processing and collection, especially about the method of classifying the data into the various scales, that is nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio scales. The session was very informative. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So now I request the participants to post your queries in the chat box if you have any.
Sorry, somebody has told to increase the volume. I didn't notice. Hereafter, I will check it. Sorry, Pavana Jagdish. And one more question is there. Sir, repeat the ratio scale. Yes.
Yes.
Sure. Let me repeat the ratio scale. I told you, no. Nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Nominal is just categorical. Ordinal is also categorical, but a specific order is there. So we call it as ordinal. Then we come to interval. Interval is also an ordinal scale. But here, I told you, no, there is an order, but we can calculate the differences. But only thing, there is no real zero. There is no starting point. But whereas in the case of ratio scale, it is also like interval. It is also like interval scale. But here, there is a real zero. Like income, I told you, no, there is zero income. Experience, there is zero experience. If for anything you can give real 0, then it can be regarded as ratio scale. Okay. Pierre Sada, Mohammed, have you got the answer?
Yes, sir. The answer was very much clear.
Okay.
We have another question from Yogita.
Yeah.
Can you please explain about Likert scale and coding of Likert scale?
Yeah.
And ma'am also continues telling Likert scale 5 has to be given to extremely satisfied only.
Yes. Very nice question, Yogita Sarohi. Thank you very much for the question. Likert scale. See, Likert has introduced the scale. So it's a 5-point scale. Normally, we are using the 5-point scale for a certain type of questions. See, for example, if we are measuring the satisfaction, we are giving highly satisfied, satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied, and highly dissatisfied. In that case, the questions, see, the factors influencing satisfaction, you are giving that. So the questions should be in factor form. For example, price, quality, quantity, durability, availability. Like that only you have to give the questions. In that case, highly satisfied, satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied, or highly dissatisfied, like that. For that, we are assigning the highest score for highly satisfied or extremely satisfied. Extremely satisfied, just satisfied or moderately satisfied, neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, dissatisfied, extremely dissatisfied or highly dissatisfied, like that. So obviously, it should be given the numbers to be assigned should be in the descending order. It's natural. But sometimes we are collecting data regarding level of agreement to certain statements. In that case, we are using the Likert scale only, like strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree. In that case, please understand the questions should not be in factor form. The questions should be in statement form. What is statement form? It is an assertion. It's an assertion. I told you, no. It's a statement.
Okay, sir.
I am confident of completing my duty. It is a statement. I'm confident of completing my duty within the time. I never take leave without proper intimation. It is a statement. Is it not? So in that case, we are collecting the level of agreement. So the questions should be in the statement form, not in the factor form like price, quality, quantity. That is used for collection of satisfaction level. And here, what you asked, whether 5 is to be given for extremely satisfied. Yes. For satisfaction, highly satisfied is to be given 5 points. But here, we are giving statements. So obviously, 5 for highly, 5 for strongly agree, 4 for agree, 3 for neutral, 2 for disagree, 1 for strongly disagree, right? In case, if the statement is a negative statement, if it is a negative statement, then reverse order. Reverse order. 5 for strongly agree, strongly disagree, 4 for disagree, 3 for neutral, 2 for agree, 1 for strongly agree, like that. Like that only we have to assign the scores. Okay.
Okay, sir. So I have one more question.
Yes.
Are negative statements not acceptable?
No, no, no.
Means,
It's not like that. It's up
okay,
to
sir.
your size. Okay. You can include both the positive statements as well as the negative statements. But only thing, you should not get, confused. Okay. While assigning the scores, you should be able to identify these are the positive statements, these are the negative statements. For the positive
Okay.
statements, this is the way of score to be assigned. For the negative statements, the reverse order is to be used. Like that, you should be very cautious. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That is
Okay.
very
Thank you.
no.
Thank you very
Thank.
much, Yogita. Any other questions?
No, sir. I don't find any more questions in the chat box. Participants, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question as well. Okay. I think there are no more questions, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
So thank you for responding to all the questions. And thank you for making us feel so comfortable to ask our queries and helping us out in getting clarified with our queries. So thank you so much.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
So with this, let us wind up today's session and we will
Sure.
all join back tomorrow exactly at 5:30 and we will learn more. So being a students and a faculty, we should always have a urge to learn. We should always be a student. So learning is a never-ending process. So let's join back tomorrow exactly at 5:30 and learn still more about a research methodology. Yes.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you,
Thank
Neeraj,
you.
Puspalata, Angel.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, all the participants. Yogita,
Yes, sir.
once again, I thank all of you and bye bye. Good night. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.